Hello everyone, my name is Doug Erb, and this is Landshore's presentation of sales enablement in the Salesforce world, broken down for the rest of us. So today I will be presenting with Susanna Gonzalez. I am the CEO and founder of Landshore. Susanna is head of our operations group, and she runs with our sales organization. We will be discussing this topic. The agenda today is what is sales enablement? We'll go over team engagement. What are the right conversations for you to have? How do you deliver the right content? And what tools and processes can help you? So what exactly is sales enablement? There are a lot of definitions out there. And you see this definition here according to Forrester. Sales enablement is a strategic ongoing process that equips client-facing employees with the ability to consistently and systematically have a valuable conversation with the right set of customer stakeholders at each stage in the customer problem-solving lifecycle to optimize ROI of the selling system. So that is probably one of the most bland and generic definitions of sales enablement I've ever heard. All right, what does that really mean, and what is sales enablement? Really, sales enablement encompasses several things. It ties in your entire organization into your product and service, allows you to disseminate the information appropriately to the right people from the right people, and really guides not only your salespeople, but the entire value chain, as you'll see here soon, along with your customer. Because in sales right now, it's not just good enough to be selling to your customer. You also have to be educating your customer. We're no longer salespeople. We are teachers about process, about software, and about making our customers' lives better in some form or fashion. Gone is the time where you could just show up with your pad and paper and show them how they can get their ROI. You really have to be educating people from now on. So in short, sales enablement means providing your sales team, with the skills and tools for them to sell more and more often. And I hate to use the word sell because selling is such an outdated term. It's really to educate and close. So when you're talking about sales enablement, who needs to be brought in? Well, you need to bring in your product or service management team in, marketing, HR and training, and sales, right? The one critical team that I think we're missing here and we should have in this presentation is leadership. You also have to bring in your leadership team when you're doing and talking about sales enablement. So let's look at these individual teams. Product management. So these are the people who create the collateral, who understand the product and service that you're going to be sending out, who create the demos, who respond to the RFPs. These people are critical for many reasons. If you think about sales enablement, and when you start going down the process of doing it, these are your content creators. These are the people who know everything and anything about your system, about your service, about your product. They're the ones who help you drive through your ROI business cases and are critical in disseminating information and vision of the product that you have for the future. They also help you build and guide documents, right? So these are the people that you're going to sit down with and effectively are going to tell you how your product works for the customer and how it makes the customer's life better. I like to look at the sales team as the customers of product management because effectively they need to provide you as sales with the information you need to guide your group. Next, let's look at marketing. So marketing in the sales enablement process is in many ways the glue, right? Marketing drives customer feedback, understands what the customer and where the market is going, and provides the documentation and content and meetings and basis for those people in sales so that they can understand, okay, here's where our customers are doing, here's what our competitors are doing, and they need to be part of the enablement process and providing feedback not only to the sales team but also to product development or service development, the people who we just talked about, product management. Marketing is key in that way. Marketing is also key in driving leads and lead generation. So you really have to have people from marketing on both sides of the coin, which is driving lead generation, effectively enabling your salespeople to be able to get those leads, process them through the content that they have, through the information they get through their product development team, and sell and close deals. They also need to manage knowledge and internal and prospect portals, right? So what does that mean? They need to be able to disseminate information, and it's really key in its marketing's key function is to enable people via the tools to send out the information that customers need and that salespeople need. Effectively, it's marketing's job, and marketing along with sales operations. Also, marketing writes the guides and playbooks that keeps them updated. So this comes down to understanding, like I said before, the customer needs and what they're going to be looking for in the future. From an HR training perspective, hiring the right people. So if you look at HR and they're part of enablement, you have to work with and let HR know as sales who you're looking for, who the right people are in the hiring process, so that they understand and are enabled to hire specifically people who you're looking to be able to sell and market your product. So HR has a very, very critical role because they're the people on the front line identifying who those salespeople are. They too need to know the process about which your sales organization goes through so that they can identify those people who can follow those processes, who can learn your products, who understand and follow the directions and understand the guidelines of your organization where you're going to. It's important, actually I'd say in HR it's almost the most important role because they're the ones who are molding your organization. Along with molding your organization, they make sure that the onboarding process is smooth. So you bring in a new person and you need to be able to share and through enablement get the information to those new people so that they understand not only the new products and services that they're going to be selling for your group, but also the process about which they go about doing it. We've recently brought on several people here to do sales in our organization, and we have had some of that happen, and I'd like to actually have Susanna speak towards that a little bit. Susanna?
Hey, Doug. So that's exactly what we look for. First of all, we look for people with a sales background. That is very important to us, so we know that they have dealt with this before. But more importantly, in the training part, we need to provide our salespeople with all the ammunitions so they can fire at a given target. How do we do that? We need to make them understand the customer's marketplace and their business issues, and we need to help the buyer envision solving all of their problems using his or her products or services. We also need to demonstrate and have them learn this very, very good, the competitive advantage of our product or service. And of course, something very important in our sales training part is helping them to overcome objections.
That's right. So, a lot of times what we do is we'll sit down with our people, and as part of enablement and part of what you're doing, you want to be able to coach the right skills. So if you think about enablement, it's not just sitting down with people and distributing a bunch of documentation. It's actually enforcing, and it begins with HR and training, as I think enablement's core function is training people. It's actually enforcing those skills that you hired and you found people for, onboarded them for, and then coaching them to the right skills, right? And so enablement really allows you to focus on those particular areas. And then we get to sales, right? And so the key piece of enablement is providing a sales methodology, right? So it's not just distribution, it's also methodology and process. So you want to be able to use enablement for your sales organization, and I'll get into our actual enablement here in a few moments, the tools that we use and how we go about it. But from a sales perspective, you really want to be able to give the information that your sales organization needs immediately at their fingertips during process, right? And I can think of just recently I was on a call with a prospective customer and had one of those oh man situations where we did not have the proper process or documentation for me able to quickly find the information, right? And so we had to hunt for that information, and that's part of what you're trying to avoid in the enablement process. It's you want to be able to have that information readily available to people so that it's distributed when they need it. Nothing's worse, and I can tell you from my own experience, than sitting on a call, having someone ask you a question, and knowing the answer, but not knowing the answer soundly. So I think what it comes down to is you're really providing people not just the knowledge of the product and service, but the absolute knowledge so that they can disseminate that information to the customer. In my example, I came out looking slightly foolish because I knew the answer, but didn't have the very deep specifications that that person was looking for, and had to come back after several days of hunting down documentation for that particular question where really it should have been easily available to me. So, from a sales perspective, when you're talking about enablement, it's not just the easy stuff, the here you go, how you provide sales methodology and whatnot. It's also really when you get to those difficult questions and you get to the nitty-gritty of where they need to have something very specific that a customer asks that they may have not had foresight into realizing was going to happen. And I guess Susanna, do you have some additional topics from a sales perspective there?
Of course, Doug. I really think from our experience that salespeople cannot know everything, but if they know where to get the information that they need and they know how to access it, they will appear great. So we need them to have the right knowledge, the specific current sales context at the right place and the right time.
Yeah, and I speak from experience. We certainly don't know. We don't know everything. Anyhow. So when you're doing sales enablement, there's a few things that you need to keep in mind. So you need to understand how deep the enablement needs to go to be effective. And I'll go back to my example. In my case, it was really deep, and it's a question that I think that I was asked probably should come up far more frequently. And so it was good, and it was a good testament to some things that needed to be corrected from just product information that we didn't have. So you do need to understand how deep it needs to go, and a lot of the times that is specific content driven towards your understanding, your sales team's understanding of the product or service that you're selling, right? You do get those one-off oddball questions in which you'll have to bring in product management, but even in those cases, once you have those one-off oddball questions, that information should go to a data sheet that they have the ability to get to. There's a bullet in here that says not just about content, although content is key in today's world. It's a lot about content. Let's be real. The key piece of being in sales enablement and sales enablement projects that happen is the content. The content is critical to everything because it's how you disseminate, how you grow your organization. It's how you get your information out to people. If you don't have the content, you're not training people. Really, what have you got? You've got a bunch of people who are talking heads. You have to write it down. You have to have a process about it. The first things that you always do in any kind of enablement project or program is you sit down and you do an evaluation of where your content is. You locate it. You understand how you're disseminating it right now. The likelihood is your content is light, if you're talking about that, and your dissemination process is dreadful, and you're probably relying on a few critical people to disseminate information, have all the customer conversations, and that's why you're in the situation you're in. So it is absolutely critical that you be able to deliver and drive out content, that you be able to actually disseminate it to the proper people, and that you be interested in getting the process going. So it's not just an exercise, right? This is the other part of it, right? You have these projects, you start it off, everybody's gung-ho, and you find all the content, you put it in the right place, and then 2 years later, you've got 5 different portals. No one's using the same one. You know, yeah, I can think about recently seeing a project where in one case, the sales organization had, within the same company, using two different methodologies, 2 different data sheets to handle the same type of product that they were trying to output. So it's not just doing sales enablement. It's actually sticking to it, centralizing it, and making sure it's successful. So you really have to enforce it. And a lot of people understand this, but the enforcement part is absolutely critical. So what conversations matter, right? Around sales enablement. And in the case of sales enablement, it's the customer marketplace, right? It's understanding and enabling your customers to learn not just about your business, not just about the problems that you can solve for them, but how you are going to make their life better, and that's in the form of lowered expenses, more focus, or more revenue. It's how do you help your customer. It's providing real business cases, right? So it's not just sitting back and giving anecdotal information. It's saying, hey, we worked with this customer, gave them this specific ROI, and this is how we can do it for you. It's real life business cases disseminated to your customer, disseminated to your sales organization so that they can be more effective. You have that content right under your fingertips. You need to go out and do it. Does the buyer understand how you can solve his or her problem? Well, this is, to me, is one of our silliest bullet points in any presentation, because our buyers are so smart and so educated lately that they, most of the times, can come in and do a demo of your product to you. And that's what the internet has done. And that's why when I come back and say, we need to be educating them not just about our product and services, which we need to do. Usually that happens in the first demo, but we need to be educating them on their own products and services. What's your competitive advantage, right? And so I think that's what it comes down to when we're disseminating information and we're doing sales enablement. It's how do you competitively beat your competitors? How do you stack up against them? And that's where marketing comes in and is very key, very key. And then last here we have upselling and cross-selling, and it's another, I think it's our second worst bullet point, because a lot of people talk about upselling and cross-selling. You, in your enablement and your sales process, need to understand when it is appropriate to upsell and cross-sell. I have watched recently several deals die because of a lack of focus on the specific item or need that a customer had, right? It's always great to have 1,000 different products and services to sell to a customer, but effectively they looked into your organization, you got this lead and you're running with it for a specific reason. You have to make sure that you focus on that specific reason, and your enablement process should allow you to do that. It should call out, understand why you're talking to the customer. Understand the importance of upselling and cross-selling once that customer values what they came in for the first place, and do it in a way where it's not selling, that it's dissemination of information. And again, that comes down to enablement. Oh, you do this also? Yes. Well, yeah, we happen to do it, and I thought I'd make mention of it. I knew you were looking around. But I didn't, want to press you on the fact because we were working on this specific project regarding this other piece of software or product. So it's the appropriate way to make sure people are disseminating information in our new environment, in our new sales environment. And here's a few things that you can do with enablement with your customers that are very key, right? So a lot of times it's interesting, right? I can't tell you how many times I've worked with customers, and I think, after, especially the bigger the companies, they would be very capable in building their own business cases around, okay, what should I do? What software should I buy? What products or services should I buy? Often They don't, because many times they're not, you're working with a procurement person who probably knows some of the ins and outs, but a lot of times people just don't purchase things on a consistent basis. And keep that in mind. So when you're talking to a customer, you can offer to build a business case, which is the best case scenario. But the other thing to do is through your process and through what you have and your other customer information, you can help support build a business case. Here is the information that we have from prior projects and prior statistics that we can provide to you, right? Overcoming objections, right? So overcoming objections through enablement is usually in the form of product sheets, right? Most of the times overcoming objections is really descriptive and having to explain out what the objection is, if there is one. Objections typically come earlier in a sale process, although the final objection, if you get tossed in a competitive analysis, is usually a part of understanding. And then communicating the needs in a quick and credible way, right? And so it's important to be able to send this information out, not just to your people and internal organizations, but to your customers also, right? So I've been talking about the enablement process here, and it's kind of interesting that, in my discussion, I'm talking about training your sales organization. I'm talking about distribution of material and training your customer, right? If you think about enablement in its head, it is learning management to a degree, and it's education and it's process, right? And so it's the combination of that. It's the glue that brings your customers, your marketing, your HR, and sales and product and service management together. It's really that glue that disseminates this information in a central way. And that's why when they say content isn't key, I don't, once believe that for any iota, right? It's the most critical piece of any kind of enablement. And there you go. Why content matters. Salespeople don't know everything, as I demonstrated here recently. And what they have to have is the right knowledge base, the specific information to the current sales stage. And this gets back to the point that I was just making, which is, know when it's appropriate to cross-sell and to upsell, right? That's spot on, that bullet right there. Right time, right place. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? So right time, right place, and the right knowledge base, what that means is you need to have that information ready to go when it matters. And when it matters is, it might be right in the middle of a meeting or call or demonstration. Hey, Doug, what about this information about, where your SaaS environment is hosted? Well, great question. Let me go ahead and shoot you over the specific detail of that particular question that you had and the environments that we host in. I'll get that to you through our enablement portal. Bam, you're out there, you're sending it, it's a very professional manner, and you're handling that question. It makes you look professional, it makes you look well-rounded. That is exactly what enablement should do. It should give you the confidence as a salesperson, it should give the customer the confidence and the knowledge that they're looking for. So let's talk about how to enable in real life, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to let Susanna talk about some of the tools too. So, from our experience, you need to know what the product and service is and where to find the content. I'm sitting here talking to you about enablement. No one's perfect, absolutely not, and I'll include my organization in that. We have effectively 3 tools that we do use for our enablement. We use our content tool, which is actually Google Docs. We use Google Docs for our content and dissemination of content. From a process perspective in our sales organization, we use a software called Improved Apps, right? And then we also use, from a marketing, content, and customer survey and understanding, a product that's a Calidus software product, and it is the marketing software from Calidus. And so those are some of the tools that we use to do our enablement. And so from a dissemination perspective, if you think about how we go about it, You know, we've effectively structured, and this is part of what enablement is, you would effectively structure your content, and that's what we've done inside of Google Docs. And so if you go into our Google Docs, you'll see a sales folder, you'll see contracts, you'll see process, you'll see service and product definitions, and information inside of there. The key piece and why our company is successful is we are content driven. We find that the value of the content is important along with the knowledge of where that content exists. If you ask anyone in our organization some question, everyone in the organization would first point you to the fact that did you look at Google Docs to find that information. It's where our training is. It's where all of our guidance is. So people will look at Google Docs and try and find information out about the products and service we sell. So whenever we onboard someone, immediately we go into training in Google Docs. We'll have them look at the training that they have in there, and it's a content management process. All right. So if you could, Susanna, go over that a little bit, you know, from your perspective on how we drive that.
Yes, we have all the information that we need, the new trainings, the old information we have used on every product that we have, so everybody is in the same page with our information. And of course, we also have improved apps. With improved apps, we make it possible for our customers to take all of the sources of information, training, guidance, and compliance, and put it all on the fingertips of our salesperson. So within a click into Salesforce, we can provide them with all the information they need. They can have videos, they can have longer pieces of text, they use PDFs, they can use any kind of guide, and they will have information at the point of need. With improved apps, we have two different services. We have improved help and improved notice board. So this helps us with new starters and old-timers. So they will have the latest information and guidance always available at their fingertips.
Right. So I think what you're saying there is from an improved apps perspective, that's mostly our process and does disseminate some of the information. And so we use our process, we use improved apps to help follow process and sales process and disseminate some pieces of information and give guidance where to find the other pieces of information. So thanks a lot, Susanna. And just for everyone to know, we're going to be concluding this presentation. If there's any questions, feel free to email us at the previously provided email addresses or give us a call. Also, we'll be disseminating this presentation to SlideShare and uploading the video to our Landshore U channel. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a good day.
Thank you.